After Waterloo, someone asked the Duke of Wellington which battle in his career had been the hardest fought. His answer was not Waterloo. It was not the Peninsula. It was a village in central India in September 1803 at a place called Assaye. He'd had fewer than 5,000 men. The army facing him has been estimated at 40 to 50,000. He won anyway. And that question, how and why and who profited, is the ledger of this episode. Maps, money, decisions. This is Tareekh ka Hisaab. The Maratha Confederacy was not an empire in the way the Mughals had been. It was something more complicated, and in some ways more durable, and that complexity was both its strength and its fatal weakness. By the middle of the 18th century, Maratha power extended from Pune in the west to Bengal in the east, from the Deccan up toward Delhi. The Peshwa, the hereditary chief minister, who had in practice become the political head, sat in Pune. But the military and revenue power was distributed among great warrior house chiefs, the Scindia of Gwalior, the Holkar of Indore, the Wellesley of Nagpur, the Gaikwad of Baroda. These houses cooperated, competed, and sometimes fought each other. They had different revenue bases, different armies, different relationships with the company. This is the Confederacy's central problem, stated plainly. A coalition that can't agree internally cannot maintain a unified front externally. The company's strategists understood this. Their approach was not to fight the Marathas as a bloc, it was to deal with them one house at a time. Now look at the ledger. At peak, Maratha territory was the largest in India after the late Mughal Empire. Revenue was significant, but split among the chiefs, not pooled. Their armies were formidable, trained under European officers, but there was no single decision maker. The Peshwa needed the chiefs. The chiefs didn't necessarily need the Peshwa. That seam in the institution is where the company put its lever. The company's first direct clash with the Marathas, the First Anglo-Maratha War, 1775 to 1782, was an embarrassment. A column of company troops was surrounded at Wadgaon in 1779 and forced to sign a humiliating convention. The war ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Bassein, essentially restoring the pre-war position. No territory changed hands, no decisive blow was struck. For 20 years, an uneasy peace held. What the company took from this was tactical. You cannot fight the Marathas head-on as a united force. You must split them, financially, diplomatically, politically, before you fight. After Salbai, 3 approaches were available. Direct military confrontation had failed. Commercial penetration, trade and subsidiary alliances, one chief at a time, was promising. Or strategic patience, wait for the Confederacy to fracture on its own. Wellesley, when he arrived in 1798, chose the second with the third as a fallback. He got both. We met the Subsidiary alliance in the last episode, the elegant, merciless contract. You keep your throne, we keep your foreign policy. After setting up a dam, Wellesley turned north. The Confederacy was fracturing exactly on schedule. In 1801, the Peshwa, Baji Rao II, the last Peshwa, was defeated at Pune by Holkar's army and fled to the coast. A Peshwa in exile, needing military rescue, is a Peshwa who will sign almost anything. In December 1802, he signed the Treaty of Bassein, Subsidiary alliance, full terms. A British garrison in Pune, Maratha foreign policy surrendered. The other chiefs, Scindia and Wellesley, saw what this meant for them. If the Peshwa was a client, who controlled the Confederacy? The British did, effectively. They had to choose, sign their own subsidiary treaties, or fight. They chose to fight. It was, strategically, the right choice. It was also too late. The Second Anglo-Maratha War, 1803 to 1805. Arthur Wellesley, the future Duke of Wellington, then a major general, commanded in the Deccan. His brother Richard commanded the policy from Calcutta. On the 23rd of September, 1803, Wellesley found the combined armies of Scindia and Wellesley near the village of Assaye. His intelligence had been wrong about their position. He was outnumbered, his roughly 4 to 5,000 against their estimated 40 to 50,000 with superior artillery. Wellington later called it the bloodiest for the numbers that I ever saw. Wellesley attacked anyway. The British lost around 1,600 dead and wounded, close to a third of his force. The Marathas lost far more. It was a tactical victory of remarkable violence purchased at remarkable cost. Why attack? The alternatives were wait for reinforcements and give the Marathas time to concentrate their full artillery, or attack now, before the enemy recognized the British position and could reposition. Wellesley chose speed and surprise. He was known for both. At Assaye, that instinct very nearly ended his career and his life. In the same month, General Lake's forces took Delhi. The company was now holding the old Mughal capital and winning the Deccan simultaneously. The symbolic weight of Delhi was not lost on anyone. The war ended in late 1805, with Scindia and Bonesley both signing treaties. The center of India had changed hands. Wellesley went home. His brother Richard went home. New governors arrived with less appetite for expansion. For a decade, the company tried to hold what it had. It didn't work for a structural reason. The Subsidiary alliance required the Allied chiefs to disband their independent armies and rely on company troops. But an army you can't pay is an army you can't control. The chiefs still had men under arms, irregular forces, pensioned soldiers with nowhere to go, light cavalry units called Pindaris who raided across central India. The Pindari raids of the 1810s disrupted company revenue collection and gave London genuine headaches. They also gave the next governor-general a pretext. Now look at what the Second War had actually bought. The company had gained Cuttack, parts of the Deccan, territories north toward Agra. But the subsidiary forces were expensive. The chiefs resented them. The Pindari problem was new and getting worse. Better map, worse peace. The Third Anglo-Maratha War, 1817 to 1818. Governor-General Hastings, not Warren, a different Hastings, decided to clear the Pindaris and settle the Maratha question permanently. The Peshwa attacked the British residency in Pune in November 1817. Scindia, calculating that the British would win, stayed out. Holkar fought and was defeated. Bonesley fought and was defeated. Baji Rao II, the last Peshwa, surrendered in June 1818. The office of Peshwa was abolished. The Confederacy ceased to exist as a political entity. The chiefs kept their ceremonial thrones. Gwalior, Indore, Baroda continued as client princely states for another century, but they held them at British pleasure. What were the Peshwa's choices at the end? Sign and continue as a pensioned figurehead, fight and lose everything, or wait and watch the others fight first. Baji Rao chose to fight. He was pensioned off to Bittur near Kanpur, where he lived on a company annuity of 8 lakh rupees a year until his death in 1851. The Maratha Confederacy had been the company's most formidable structural problem, a vast, distributed power with enough combined strength to check British expansion for 4 decades. It ended not in a single battle, but in the slow, patient application of the subsidiary alliance to each of its moving parts. By 1818, the company controlled or directly dominated every major power in peninsular and central India. Every major power except one. In the northwest, across the Sutlej River, stood a state the company had been very careful not to fight, because Ranjit Singh was alive, and because the company's strategists knew how to count. But Ranjit Singh would not live forever. Next time, the Sikh Empire, the death of a statesman, and the last annexation. This is Tareekh ka Hisaab,